And next up, we would like to hear from Kevin Briggs. How are you doing, Kevin? It's been a while, but I remember you.
Hi, Stone. I'm fine. How are you? Thank you for inviting me. I'm honoured to be here. There's so many amazing people, so much amazing communication with our staff on this. So I'm honoured to be here and share my own story. My journey started when I was 3 years old. I realised my conscious energy was in a physical body again. I was looking around the room and I knew that I had a physical body which could feel and touch, but my conscious energy was separate at that time. And I was aware of that. And I was aware that this was another incarnation. So very early on, I had this interest in consciousness, shall we say. My next experience, I was 8 years old. I was always sensitive to the frequencies that surround us. I was taking a bath at home. I felt the change in the frequencies. I looked to my right and two beings appeared. Frightened me to death at the time, as you could imagine. One male, one female, both with long blonde hair, shoulder length, blue eyes, very attractive, both of them. One male, one female. Their names are Op D. They are Arcturians. They are guides and teachers. They were speaking telepathically to one another, which I could understand. And the conversation I still remember. The D said to Ort, "Is this the boy?" He said, "Yes, this is the boy." She questioned him and said, "Are you sure this is the boy?" And he said, "Yes." But then she said, "Look at him. He's small, he's uneducated, and he's frightened by our presence." She was correct. I was terrified. He said, "No, this is the boy. I will guide him. I will teach him." There was some other conversation, and then they left. My next encounter, I'd be 9 years old, just a year later. I'd had some friends around at home playing some board games. They left. I showed them out the back door. And when I turned into the home, I felt this frequency again. So I walked into the living room. I searched the rest of the house, but the frequency was the strongest in the living room. So I was drawn to the curtain, the windows. I looked behind the curtain, and there was a conscious energy plasma orb there, 4 to 6 inches across, slightly vibrating. There was no communication from it. It stayed until Friday. I came home from school, I opened the back door and realised that it had gone. But from that day on, I was able to travel outside of the physical realm as a pure conscious energy plasma orb myself. I wasn't aware of the full potential of it then. I am now. I suspect that Ort activated something within my DNA, as our DNA are encoded with light frequencies, and these can be activated. But I suspect that was for the education which I was to be given over their lifetime, really. And the education has been one of consciousness itself and how it can be utilized as a conduit for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, for creation and co-creation. And I've had many experiences, shared experiences with my staff on the using consciousness itself. My next encounter, I'd be 14. I had a paper round, and there was always a couple of UFOs used to follow me around my paper round. And again, sensitive to the frequencies that are around us, I knew there was someone there behind the hedge, behind the wall. I asked them to show themselves, and 2 small greys popped out. I said, "What do you want?" I wasn't frightened. They said, "There's a group of people that want to meet with you. Will you come with us?" So I did agree to go with them, and I was transported to a mothership. On that mothership, I was escorted down to an amphitheatre, which was full of all these different beings. And on the front of the amphitheatre, there was a stage with 8 beings. I refer to these beings now as the Council of 8. Their names are Ort D. The first 2 that I met in the bathroom were 8. Anna, she's a blue bird type being. Zark, a mathematician engineer. Ra, he's the leader of the group, a Anunnaki. Tag, a tall grey. Chica, a mantis being, and all are a tall white. So quite a selection of beings. As a 14-year-old boy, I thought I was there as a human specimen. I wasn't. I know that now. It was a galactic federation, a galactic council, and there are many. As I say, my main education has been one in consciousness, So now I can now communicate with them at their level of consciousness. And now what's transforming now is that they are reaching out to other people as well. Interesting that I've had contact all my life, and now they're reaching out to other people. I read a book a few weeks ago called Quantum Windows and Dimension by Rebecca Renfro. And in there, she speaks about when she met Orton D, the two Arcturians in 2015. And then Kathleen Marden, she mentions the Council of Eight in her book, Forbidden Knowledge, and the contact and some transcripts in there from channeling. And I'm a member of the Exo-Conscious community, and another member in the Exo-Conscious community, Aurora Valsia, has direct contact with the Council of Eight. She's channeling their portraits, which I find fascinating, with a narrative. And you can see these portraits on the Exo-Conscious Humans website. And within the Exo-Conscious community now, I was asked by the Council of Eight, they wanted a mandated protocol. So we could receive them here. They needed specific specifications. So they gave me that information. I wrote it out, and now it's part of the Exo-Conscious community. It's on their website if you want to have a look at it. And there's also a planetary constitution which protects the sovereignty of humanity. In fact, I think one of the authors is here, Susan Banwich. So we are already interacting with a group of 8 people. I was also asked to be a contributing author to Ray Hernandez's book, A Greater Reality. And in there are a couple of equations, one for calculating the frequencies of consciousness in each dimension. They gave me that, and it's important to understand consciousness itself. I think someone mentioned earlier, it is a science. We need to understand it. I was also contacted by a leading scientist called Sperry Andrew, and he asked me to ask the Orton D, the Council of Eight, what they knew about the void of consciousness. I'd never heard of that term before, so I asked them. They gave me another equation for calculating the void of consciousness, and they gave me an explanation how all timelines, past, present, and future timelines, are created or co-created from the void of consciousness. Now, this is important because we now have this information. We are now co-creating a new timeline, and I expect everybody here is part of that. We are co-creating a new timeline for our children, for our future generations. This timeline will include our staff on this. So I think it's fascinating. And if anybody's interested in those equations, you can download all 6 volumes for free at agreaterreality.com. So there's all this free information about here. And I think it's fascinating that we're all joining together now. I'm very interested in listening to Kevin Estrella. I haven't met him before, but I watched a podcast with Sue Walker, and she was talking about Penti. I had never heard of them, so I reached out. I thought, I wonder if I can communicate with them using my natural human telepathic abilities. So I reached out, and I spoke to 2 Penti. We had a brief introduction, and then they left. Then I went onto Sue Walker's website, and the first 2 portraits on her website were the 2 that I've been speaking to. I've reached out to them since, so I've had conversation with them, and just recently they contacted me and told me that, Kevin, we are supporting the reveal globally of our star family's presence. So I think now we are moving forward. We're becoming a larger family. We are expanding our collective consciousness because we have an understanding of. We are touching on the science side of consciousness. And just recently, I've been doing a course within the Exo-Conscious community about plasma science. And within that course, I was given direct information from this Council of Eight of scientific information that was important to the course. So we are already interacting with a group of extraterrestrials. So I find it fascinating, and we've all got our contact here. By talking about it, we are expanding our collective consciousness. If anybody's interested, you can always contact me, kevinjamesbriggs@gmail.com. And again, thank you, Michael, for allowing me to speak today. I do appreciate it. I just admire the work you're doing. It's just amazing.
Thanks, Kevin. And I wanted to ask you to specify that creative reality.
So a greaterreality.com. And if you go on there, you can download all 6 volumes for free as a PDF file. And the volume I was talking about is volume 5. And I think Susan Manwich is in there again. She's a contributing author. Dr. Melanie Barton, a good friend of mine. And Catherine, she's in there. There's many experiences writing in volume 5. So it's all very interesting, all relevant to what we're talking about here today.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so beautiful. And I've been getting some downloads recently too about the universe and DNA and all that. And I'd really love to have a conversation with you later about that.
Interesting, within the recent information, there was information about plasma within our DNA, which we are not aware of. And again, these plasma frequencies, it's a science that's been hidden from us. So now we really need to understand these science of plasma itself, because we are actually light plasma beings. And when we understand that, then we are an intergalactic, multidimensional species, which has been hidden from us, really.
Thank you, Kevin. I totally love it. This is confirmation for me. I have what color were your plasma beings? Mine come in like a fire sort of looking plasma, but they're not flame. They've come into my room and they've shown me what some of their capabilities are and their telepathy, their telepathic link and conversation they had with me. I mean, I've had many different encounters, but this one is the one that stands out the most because I see them more. I see them interacting most with the humans on this planet. They're everywhere, and they don't just come in these plasma balls form. They also can come in translucent. They can come in white. They can come in blue. They can pass through the walls. And absolutely, I really appreciate you sharing the intel. I feel like it's intel because this is what I get. I get them coming in. I can sense when they're nearby, and I'll grab my camera and I'll race outside and I'll be like, yep, there they are. And they communicate through flashes, letting me know that they're there. And then next minute they are there. So thank you very much for sharing that. Absolutely. What you were saying, what you were sharing was like, wow, that's triggering that area. that area.
Yes.
I'm thinking like this is absolutely fantastic to get this many of, as far as I'm concerned, we're all professional experiences. This is lifetime experiences that we've been having, and we never gave up the good fight. And now we're here, we're coming together as collectives, and I feel that once a month we should be getting together and we should be sharing all of this. So I'm really grateful for each and every one of you who has got these organizations out there, because there is going to be an influx of us coming in and saying, hey, look, these are the experiences. So, much appreciation for doing that. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. And
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
I believe Jennifer has a poem that's coming on.
And also to mention about our support groups. So we've got monthly and even weekly things happening with a great bunch of people. And Jennifer and Tanis are part of that as well. So please check that out. beyondbeinghuman.org/support-groups.
Thank you. Yeah, Kevin, I loved what you were sharing. Thank you so much. And everybody who's been sharing so far. This actually is something that came through a little while ago. And I feel that all of us who have had these experiences, who have moved through the oneness into differentiation, can potentially relate to this. So I remember the one. I remember before the name, before the form, before the fracture of light, I was with the all. Endless, edgeless, a silent song without a singer, and I chose, oh, I chose, to ripple into many, to scatter into stars, to forget, just enough to feel. I am Lyran breath, wild golden origin fire. I am Syrian tide, deep ancient keeper of sacred flow. I am Mintakan light, clear as memory before the fall. I am Arcturian vision, geometry singing itself into form. I am draconian flame, fierce, sovereign, primordial will. Different faces, one essence. Different songs, one voice. I am the many remembering the one, and I came here, to earth, to density, to gravity, to the exquisite weight of a body that aches and laughs and longs. Here, time dips, moments vanish. Everything I touch pretends to end, but I remember. I remember the infinite inside the temporary, the eternal inside the breath, the whole inside the fracture. This is the paradox I carry. I am everything, and I am this. I am bound, and I am mukta, free beyond form. I walk in duality, holding unity like a sacred sun in my chest. And love is the choice I make again and again and again, not because it is easy, but because it is true. I choose love in the shadow. I choose love in the forgetting. I choose love when I cannot see the one in front of me until I can, until I do, until I remember that every face is my face and every heart is my heart, every being a doorway back to the all. And so I am here, stardust in skin, infinity in form, the one, pretending to be separate, just long enough to love its way home.
Wow. I am speechless. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was good. That's like pulling us back. That's like, thank you. Yeah.